welcome back to another episode of MiND Stim. I'm your host, Jacques. This is the second time we've had you on, Arber. Really excited to have you back. You've really made a big name for yourself by just being yourself and not trying to get attention. You've been really good at helping other people open up, a lot of self-acceptance. You spoke about other themes, sexuality and neurodivergence. I think the best way to describe you is you just break down barriers and make it okay for people to be themselves. So without further ado, Arber, introduce yourself.
My name's Arber. I'm 20 years old. I'm currently studying a BTEC at the moment. Later on, I'm going to be a degree apprentice at HSBC in private banking. So I'm quite excited about that. Me and Jacques got talking, I think around January, ever since we just had weekly calls because we just had such good conversation. Eventually, he gave me the opportunity to do a podcast with him, and that's how I ended up here. I leave lots of positive comments on LinkedIn. I post about autism, other themes like sex and other topics I like to talk about. I also like to spread awareness as well, and I just want to make the world a better place, I'd say.
I think you've already done a lot of that. But tell me a little bit about what neurodivergence is to you and your kind of history of understanding it.
What it means to me is just we're different in the mental and psychological aspect, the way our brains are basically designed. Neurodiversity to me is people that are not really designed for the normal neurotypical world, as people like to put it in that scientific terms. In a way, we're not really adapted to like all the hustle and bustle of daily life, especially all the noises, especially the social aspect, which is quite a struggle for lots of other neurodiverse individuals, trying to understand them, trying to understand the deeper meaning behind their words, understanding if they're being sarcastic or making a joke, understanding what they mean by their words. Because from this whole life that I had with my whole experience, I just realized that like everywhere I went to, it just wasn't designed for me in the slightest. Like everywhere I went, I had to like basically adapt to everyone else, but like no one made the time to adapt to me as an individual. It's just like really annoying because like I try my best to like still adapt to everyone else and to try my best to get myself out there. There's much more awareness now, but inevitably, at the end of the day, it's just not really designed for people like us. That's why I just wanted to get myself more out there to spread more awareness and positivity. If I can even make some people aware of what to do, then like making people like myself and people with autism, ADHD even resonate with my posts. I know that I've essentially done my part to at least make someone's life a bit more better. They can have someone else that be looking at my post and understanding like this is the steps I should take in order to adapt to an autistic person's needs, for example, for neurodiverse needs, because definitely this world isn't really designed for people like us. It's mostly designed for neurotypical people that are designed to adapt to the regular world. I think that's what it kind of means to me, just people that whose brains are designed differently and not adaptable to the world that is not designed for us.
Something that really stood out to me is a post by Sophie Day that was about, do you remember the stimming one, right?
I remembered.
It's an interesting one because everything you said in that entire part touches on what I was going to say, weirdly. We've had a bit of a mind meld. I think when you talk about definitions, it gets really kind of narrow and we don't realize that there's a variance within that, right? So stimming actually could be any repetitive behavior or kind of self-soothing behavior, typically with people with autism, but it can be someone with OCD, anxiety, the whole spectrum really. And what was really amazing is she felt confident to show that more unfiltered, authentic version of herself, which I think was a really great place to be. But she credited yourself and some of your posts and the positivity that you've put out. And then that led to me feeling quite confident. And even Sanjit, who works at NeuroVoice, has reposted it. So there was this kind of loop of embracing our true selves that just shows it does actually work. So you put that into action. I think it's because it was so authentic. There was no other motive than to celebrate difference, right? It's when you then keep showing those displays and normalizing them, people realize it's no different to the behavior that they think is normal. In terms of like stimming, is that something that you do at all?
Yeah, I do it all the time. I flap my hands. I sometimes shake as well. I twirl my hair a little bit. I spit my fingers. I guess I do it all the time as well, whether it's subtly or whether it's discreet or whether it's much more obvious. Yeah, I do definitely do it all the time, especially when I'm by myself. If I don't, then it's just gonna build up inside of me until I have to release it somehow. So I definitely have to do it at some point, or else like I just won't be able to resist doing it in a very public place. So I just usually tend to do it either sometimes at public or sometimes by myself as well at my own room. So yeah, I definitely stim all the time.
Interesting. I felt that, again, it shows the difference between where you're at in a place where you're quite confident in neurodivergence and the idea of stimming, for instance. I was late diagnosed, so only 3 years ago when I was 32. And so these behaviors you kind of masked. I guess there's like a conditioning where I felt that it was just abnormal, so I just didn't show it. And the more and more I felt confident, especially if the environment is right and the other person is aware and accommodating about it, the more and more it's been easier to manage. It comes to that idea of suppression we were talking about on the first few chats that we had.
Wow.
If it feels like trying to suppress it almost makes it worse. Would you say that experience is the same for you?
Yeah. The more you suppress stimming, it'll definitely just eat you up at the end of the day, and like inevitably it will lead to some sort of meltdown or burnout because you're just trying so hard to adapt to the other type of neurotypical world where you're not really being yourself as a whole. I usually encourage everyone to just be themselves, and that's why I did that stimming post. I want others to feel confident that they can do it, and in that other song, I'm going to look down on them just because they stim or because they might do something that normal people normally wouldn't do. I think it was really nice seeing all the support I got for that post as well. I was a bit surprised, but like it was really good seeing the amount of support, showing that lots of people are really willing to understand autism and understand our needs, which is very promising. I'm quite happy about it, honestly. So that's why I have a few more posts that I'm going to do later on this week about autism. I'm definitely going to do a video about that and talk about that as well. I definitely just want to keep going, spreading that awareness and positivity, that love and joy as well. I definitely think the more you suppress yourself, the more it'll just eat you up, and it's just not going to be a good outcome for you at all.
Talk me through the amazing apprenticeship that you've landed with HSBC.
Yeah, so it's an apprenticeship. I managed to get an offer from them for the Global Private Banking degree apprenticeship, and I did the work experience with them last year in July, and I really liked what they had to offer. They seem very diverse as well, which was something that was incredibly important to me because I wanted to work somewhere that valued diversity and a company that could understand my needs as an individual. When I eventually started to work, maybe I could give my insights to them to further improve their services. I just decided to just take the chance, honestly. I managed to get past through the assessment center, then the interviews with the 3 interviewees. I managed to get an offer at the end of it, which honestly I was really surprised about. I was half expecting to get that rejection, but honestly, when I heard when the recruiter called me and said I got the offer, I just felt so surprised because I didn't believe I would actually get it. But I just tried my best, honestly, and thankfully, it managed to work out. I'll be starting there in October later on this year after I finish my studies, so I'm quite excited. HSBC, they actually said on that thing that they're very disability confident, which I didn't notice in like other banks. They do say it, but it's very like brief and not really into detail. But when I actually started looking at their website, I realized how far they actually go to really be inclusive, not just to their customers, but to their employees as well. Like they really go that extra mile for them. And this whole team's just dedicated to supporting employees and supporting customers, even those with individual disabilities, physical or mental as well. And they also are advocates for mental health as well, which is something I really like. It just looked really promising to me, honestly. I thought that could be the company for me, honestly. I mean, we'll see when I get there, then I could have a much better overview. But I think for now, like it does look quite promising. And I think it's a company I would definitely like to invest my time in and see how it goes when I start my apprenticeship as well. So I guess that's what kind of stood out to me about HSBC. They're just very diverse. There's also lots of people there as well that I can definitely talk to when I get there as well. And I think like hopefully they'll allow me to be myself in there and allow me to be myself and just to let me thrive, honestly, I'd say, and just to suppress myself just because it's a company or anything. I want to be myself in any aspect I go to, whether that's an event or online or in person or where I work at. I guess that's kind of why I chose HSBC, because it looked very promising and the people there do seem very nice as well. So I just thought it'd be a good place to start my whole career journey at and to invest my time in as well.
Yeah, I mean, from everything you said to me about it, I'm very optimistic about how it will turn out. There's a big gap between advertising that you're inclusive and disability confident, and then when you look at the programs a company will be involved in and how they treat you throughout the process, the difference between companies that follow through and ones that don't. It sounds like they've treated you really well throughout that process. So a bit of a shout out and advert for HSBC here, really.
Yeah, they gave me mostly extra time and everything, which I think really helped out. They were quite nice, which helped me to ease my nerves a lot more as well. I got some external support from this really amazing charity called Radical. One of the members there was helping me out with the interview prep and everything. We were doing hour-long interviews and everything. So actually helped me write down lots of questions. They gave me lots of answers and everything. So they were definitely a huge help into me getting this apprenticeship. I feel like it was because of them I managed to get this offer. So Radical has been a really big help there.
A really big shout out to Radical. You mentioned two things, interview prep and CV prep. That's really important, but it's also helping you settle your nerves and get in the right frame of mind. That's a big part of it, isn't it? And what would you tell the audience in terms of what you learned from that process? Any tips for other companies when they're hiring to really support people?
For some people, this could be a whole new opportunity, but then maybe some people, this is their first time going into employment. Maybe this is the first time they're going into a new job. So I think it's just best to be considerate, support them as well, check up on them, just treat them like they're people, not just like their numbers just going on and on and on. I really just get to know them as individuals and really make sure that they're okay throughout the process and reassure them that even if they stutter or might not know one question, that it doesn't mean that would have to affect the whole interview. I feel like maybe if we can ensure that we can tailor it to each person's need, maybe we can get like a form or maybe something afterwards where they could feel like, say, would you like in person, would you like online, or what type of questions would you like us to ask? Also ensuring that it relates to the role and ensuring that they can be able to showcase their skills and their ambitions and why they want that role as well. Rather than it just being so generic, you might realize you might have missed out on lots of potential because you didn't became very inclusive. So I guess that's my advice.
I've been recruiting for about 10 years now. And honestly, you could teach most recruiters with that advice. What I like, as you said, it's not trying to catch them out. If they make a mistake here or there, it's fine. That's what you want to do when you're hiring. You want to get the most out of that person. It's in your interest to set them at ease instead of it being you're on the spot. By the sounds of it, just a little bit more time you got with interviews. That's a great idea because sometimes interviews are really intense and you're put on the spot, very minimal time, but that would never happen in the real world. It wouldn't happen in the job. And like you said, actually make it relevant. For what it would be like. Instead of you got 1 minute, answer this question. We all process things at different rates, and that doesn't indicate whether we're good or bad at a job. It's just our own way. So you mentioned that you've been going to a lot of events. Any particular ones that stand out at all? And I think you were talking on a few posts about the impact of interacting in a large group and what that can feel like.
There's always a bit of a struggle at times, especially in such big groups of people when there's so many people. I'm like more of a person that does prefer much smaller groups, much smaller crowds of people, because I feel like if there's lots of people, then it kind of becomes hard to try and navigate around that, figuring out who the right types of people to speak to as well. Even when you want to speak to everyone, that could become a bit impossible because there's just so many people coming across your way. I'm not the biggest fan of big events personally. I do prefer much more smaller, more intimate type of events rather than just really huge events overall. I went to one last Thursday, which was a really awesome event, actually talking about how to be authentic online, how to deal with trolls online as well. That was really good. I met lots of really cool people. Some people I recognized on LinkedIn. I actually got to meet face to face as well. I met lots of really inspiring on business people and everything. So I'd say that was definitely a good event. It had a very nice atmosphere as well. They really made sure to make it as accessible as they can for the diverse people, which was really amazing as well. Looking forward to the ones I have in the future as well.
I love that. Yeah, an event that is about acceptance and dealing with people online. One day you're going to probably be hosting your own because you've been amazing at it. You're quite active on LinkedIn and other social media. What's the advice you'd give to people if they were going online, a bit scared to post or comment, or potentially they've got trolls, that kind of toxic experience? What would you say to them?
I'd say think of it more like this. Think of it as just like maybe those people that have the confidence to do what you have done in the first place. And I think it's also important to remember that it's best to be consistent with your messaging and to ensure that you can show yourself online. The more I kept doing that, the more the right types of people started to gravitate, and the more I actually started to build relationship rather than just commenting or just posting. It's important to be at least considered, even if you do one like each week, do one post, a few posts, as long as they're good and they actually convey who you are as an individual, that's going to be much better rather than it just being like just one generic post or worrying about what others think. It's only a certain amount of people. That's not what the rest of LinkedIn is actually like. If you focus much on the minority and not the majority of people, then it's just going to be a very dangerous constant cycle of just doubting yourself, of just self-loathing. It's just not going to end you up getting the opportunities that we really reach your full potential at the end of the day. So I think it is really important to genuinely just understand that those are only the minority, not the majority of people, and to really convey your messaging well, to really just be authentic. What I mean by authenticity is like how you would text to a friend or like how you normally are in your personal. Show a bit of that on LinkedIn as well. Convey your jokes, convey your unique sentences as well, just whatever it is, and then it would make you stand out a lot more. And it would help to ensure that you can find the right people that can defend you from those challenging people and all of that toxicity and those bad comments that can arise. That will definitely support you in the long run to ensure that you don't let the negative comments bring you down at all.
This is why I absolutely adore Arber and I love talking to him. He is so intelligent. It's not to say I'm stupid, but the amount of wisdom you have, I didn't have at your age, and I can see you being incredibly successful. You're absolutely right. Consistency online is key for a number of reasons. Your audience gets to know and expect what your messaging is in terms of the algorithm, and engagement is also a pretty good bet. You're right. It's better to be once a week than 3 days and then you don't post.
Even if it's just a few people, that's better than nothing, because maybe those people really stick by you, could really be invested in your post rather than trying to aim to get 100,000 or 1 million people that might see your post, like it in the moment, but then forget about it the next day. That's just how people are. If you are very consistent, then people are going to gradually remember that aspect of you and they don't know you for that specific thing. They'll stick with them long term.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. I think in the real world, you can only sustain so many relationships. What people want is for you to be there, for you to be visible and consistent. But what else I took from what you said is really important, which was if you're being more authentic yourself, it doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. You can make jokes, you can make mistakes, you can say whatever you want, but you then attract people that are significantly more aligned to how you think. And that then builds relationships that are really strong. And those people start to have your back more. So now you've got a network that is much more around the similar mindsets, interests. And then when you are dealing with trolls, those people become a bit of your support system. Speaking of trolls, any kind of brush ups with any trolls online?
No, not in a while. No, it was a while back ago. I had a few people say some stuff, but it wasn't anything very major, honestly. But yeah, I remember this one. Apparently someone did a post about me, but I didn't even see the post because I think it got removed by the time I was back on LinkedIn because I was out the whole day. I basically saw that like everyone came to my defense and everything. I think that just really emphasized how much community is actually really important.
The power of community. When you build it, they will support you. They'll stand in solidarity with you. But it's partly because that's what you're putting out. So you are I think always there to support, to uplift, to amplify. And I remember this scenario, and it was an outpouring of people on your side.
I mean, I guess what I would say to those people is maybe just try and think of it on a different perspective rather than just like immediately going to project that onto someone else. I feel like maybe because they don't see their own potential, they just don't believe that they can do it. So I think like I would say just try and learn how to shift your mindset into a you can't, into a you can mindset, because they started out from nothing as well. Even really big creators, they probably won't know like 5-10 years ago or even 20 years ago. So they had to start from somewhere, and obviously they make mistakes, they learned along the way as well. They had ups and they had lots of downs as well, but each of those experiences got them to where they are today because they took opportunities and they had a good mindset, which led them to believing that they can be able to achieve a lot in their lives rather than it just being like, oh, I can't do this because I'm not going to do it. Oh, someone else is so successful. Why are they so, why is it not me?
Talk me through your journey when you were younger to diagnosis.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed since I was a baby, actually. So eventually I got that quite early on. I was actually born premature, so I actually had to be a lot of tubes and everything. And thankfully I managed to survive. I'm here today, so that's really good. The doctors did really well back then. And then after that, I got my diagnosis. I remember I really struggled a lot to speak when I couldn't even probably speak until I was 5 or 6 years old. I had to go to a lot of speech and language therapy sessions and everything. They were definitely quite nice. It was a long time ago, so I don't remember it fully, but I definitely remember going there. I think since then, I've always just been really shy, always struggled to make friends because I never really knew how to resonate with people. I got the diagnosis, but I never actually fully knew I had it until my teenage years. So I think throughout my childhood, it's always just been like, why did I feel so different? Why can't I just understand it? Like, am I not trying hard enough? Is there something about me that I need to change? Just stuff like that. So it's always just been this constant cycle of trying to adapt, but trying to just wonder like what was up with me? Why couldn't I just resonate a lot with other people? This continued until secondary school, where I still struggled a lot to make friends. I stayed with a little of friends, but they were more just like school friends at the end of the day. But yeah, they were quite friendly and everything. I had a few experiences in secondary school, some good, some quite bad as well. But yeah, I think definitely I was still quite shy. I just wanted a friend. It led to me being with the wrong crowd because I kind of just really wanted to resonate with someone I really wanted someone to just like me as an individual. But then after I finished secondary school, things started to shift for me a little bit. I didn't go to college my first year because I didn't get accepted into the place I wanted. Then I eventually joined the college I'm at now. And then eventually, after a while, I started to attend the gym. I started to actually speak to people. I started to grow my confidence a bit more there as well. And that was the starting point for my whole journey into LinkedIn. Gradually, I started to add more people. I started to connect with more people as well. Then after a while of my constant commenting, then I started to post my first ever post. There was one post I think really defined it, which was me talking about me going to events and me having autism. That was the first time I ever got like a lot of likes and lots of engagements. I think it just went from there. I just kept doing the same thing, commenting constantly for like the past year and a half. I started to say yes to opportunities. I started to meet people, and it led me to where I am today.
I like to do what you do, Arber. If I see something great in the world, I like to make sure that it's seen. First of all, just one of the best descriptions and such a lovely journey from being isolated to finding your way. And it's off the back of who you are, Arber. I would say to the doctor, if you're listening, you've done an amazing job because Arber is just a miracle for us. You're such a great ambassador, and what I love what you just said. Yeah, you're just so intelligent, so amazing, really, when it comes to how you deal with situations. A lot of these things are not always easy.
Yeah.
What I love is I got the message that, okay, when you were a bit younger, you felt different. And that's what I felt a little bit as well. I know it's not, we had different experiences, but that feeling of like, why can't I socialize? I was quite shy. And you touched on something as well where you said it can lead you into being friends with the wrong person or,
Yeah.
right. And I was the same. I think because that's a very natural thing when you are, especially in your like teenage years, you are longing for connection with people, to fit into a group. You just have what you have in front of you. And if you're in a school or an area where those people just aren't really aligned to you, it can make you feel like that's the way it's going to be for the rest of your life because you don't know anything. Well, you've put yourself out there, you've gone on social media, and let's be honest, you're going to be huge on there because people love authenticity, they love stories, and you're brilliant at that, and you're consistent. So tell me about when you heard that feeling of difference. How did that feel?
I mean, I guess it felt a bit isolating at first because being indifferent doesn't really feel like a good thing when you're like a teenager trying to find friends. So it definitely did feel very weird and isolating, and I definitely felt very left out a lot. Just constant doubting of myself, just wondering like, why couldn't I just be the same way? Why couldn't I just be like everyone else as well? Why did I have to be so different? What did I have to do to deserve this? Now I see it more as just like uniqueness, really standing out, really showing the world what you really can offer, and just really genuinely highlighting yourself as an individual and really showing the ups and the downs, ensuring that people can understand who you are as a person, and really showing that your difference can really impact the world for the better. Is the mindset that I have now compared to back then. So I say like that's how I felt back then compared to now.
What would you wish was different when you look back at that time?
I just wished I could have just been a person, like an adult figure or someone else that could have understood my struggles and just told me that I wasn't crazy. This wasn't a punishment. I was just my own person, and that's perfectly okay. Then having that support system to kind of lean on back then as well would have really helped me to, I think not I made the friendship decisions that I did as well. I think just more understanding, just someone actually adapting to the way I speak and how I go about things as well, rather than me having to adapt to this whole group of people. I think just those things would have made a huge difference back then, because I felt like it would have taught me a lot more into how to navigate friendships and the whole world, rather than just feeling like I had to be ostracized all the time or feeling like I had to be someone else that I just wasn't.
All kids need that.
Yeah, I just think more individual support would have really helped me out. If someone actually took the time to know me, then I feel like it would have really have impacted my life for the better, because I just felt so neglected and abandoned in a way that I just kind of had to feel like I had to figure things out by myself, and I just had to adapt to what everyone else needed.
Really firmly to anyone who's listening, Arber has got where he is because of the incredible personality, mindset, determination. And he's done it himself. He has gone out into the world, put out, good intentions, and found people that see him for who he is. And you were talking about you felt different and, what's wrong with me, that kind of thing. And when I grew up, difference wasn't even the word. It was like you were just, there's something wrong with you completely. That's really important. When we're adults and we start to embrace ourselves, we see difference as a important thing. And I think it is. I think being unique and being yourself is. But when you're a child, you don't necessarily be different. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, because you're kind of forced into an environment where you have to, like, in a way, adapt to other people, rather than having an environment that's still around you, because if you're just constantly surrounded in this environment where you're the odd one out, it's going to really mess up your mind. It's just going to make you really doubt yourself and cause a lot of issues in your adult years compared to just as a child. Because in schools, you're only forced to like see the same amount of people every single day. You're forced to get used to their personalities instead of just having an environment that actually works around you and having people that can understand you, which I think would have made a really huge difference to lots of neurodiverse kids' lives.
I'd love to hear some of your advice on this, because I think you'd be someone that could really speak to kids and adults really that are struggling with that experience. Just moving on from that, me and you grew up not too far from each other. I'm in Enfield. Was that a part that played anything into growing up, the kind of influences you had? Did that play any part?
I would say definitely, yeah, the whole environment did definitely influence how I grew up and everything, because I just saw the same people. I felt like it was a bit hard to try and really navigate around that, because I just had to like try and at the same time focus on my schoolwork, but at the same time just thinking to myself, how could I actually make friends? How could I have someone that accepts me for who I am as an individual, rather than just me having to be this certain type of person, like the popular kids, as probably back then in secondary school were being. I saw they had a lot of friends and they had a lot of influence. And that's just what I wanted for so long, but I just didn't know how to actually go about that. I felt like I had to be like them. I had to do what they did as well. But I realized that wasn't going to work out, because people would just kind of tell someone's just kind of faking it a little bit or just acting a little bit as well. So I didn't see that then, because I just thought if I act like this, then people will show a lot more interest in me. If I do this thing, then people will show a lot more interest into me as well. I just didn't know how to like actually communicate with others the way I wanted to, and for someone to actually take the time to understand that. So yeah, I definitely feel like the environment did definitely play a huge factor into how I grew up and how my thinking got influenced back then as well.
Felt like different. I felt, why am I like this? I was even bullied when I was at school. When you're not given that validation, you kind of seek it. And I then learned to please other people. So I would be just hanging around with people that I wouldn't necessarily, they were a good influence. I would always be doing things that they enjoyed, they wanted to do. And you have to kind of like find that discipline in yourself to break through. But if there's no one to show you that, and there's no other people in your vicinity that can offer a different path, that's how people get caught up themselves. And you manage to stay really strong in yourself.
Yeah,
it's a really difficult.
Yeah, I still had to keep telling myself that I needed to focus on what was important. I did get swayed slightly, but I managed to like tell myself that it wasn't going to be worth it hanging around with this person. So then I ended the friendship, and it's been a few years since I last seen them. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I just had to have that willpower within myself to just push through and just to really just know that eventually I will find my path one day. Although it will take a while, I will eventually get there, and eventually I'm finally starting to find my path and what my purpose is. Yeah, it's been worth it, I would say. So I'm really happy I held out.
What are some of the social rules, if you will, in terms of how people speak that you think you might struggle with, I might struggle with, that maybe other people see as easy?
Apparently, people are meant to take turns when they're and that's a bit of a struggle, because if I feel like I need to say something, I really want to say it, and I just have to end up waiting. And yeah, it's just a really big struggle, because you have to wait for someone else to speak, then another person, and they don't tell you like there's turn, but it's kind of there, and it's like you have to think like, when is your turn? When can I speak? Like, who's telling me all of this? Like, it's just a bit annoying that I think people need to understand a bit more as well. Like, just because if we interject someone, it doesn't mean we're being rude. It's just because we're really eager to say that thing that can benefit the whole crowd, instead of it just being like, oh, why are you interrupting? Why are you being rude? Like, if someone does actually speak, like, just let them, and obviously then tell them let this other person can speak, then it could be used, so then we can be clear to like, then we can definitely be much more informed as to how it's going to work out to ensure that we also get a fair chance to speak as well. Apparently in speaking affairs, apparently there's a limit to how much you can speak on the microphone. I never even realized this myself because I just kept putting my hand up. I went one time and then the other time someone just ignored me. I'm just like, why are you ignoring me? I just realized eventually they just have to bring it to other people as well. I think that was slightly annoying for me to come to terms with. But yeah, I think those are some rules I've realized that people need to be a lot more aware of.
Absolutely. Exactly that. I have ADHD, so there's some overlap, there's some differences, but ultimately everyone can fall into this category. I sometimes speak over someone. It's the same thing that you said. It's not that I'm not listening. If anything, I'm so engaged and I take in so much that it's like I'm bursting to say what I want to say. I get it. People might go, oh, can you just let me finish? That's totally fine. We're not going to break if someone just says, wait a second. But with these things, people need to, instead of seeing it from their perspective or what that means to them, see it as the meaning behind it is not that we're trying to interrupt or that we are being rude. It's just interest. It's being eager. And any kind of things in terms of neurodivergence that you would like to get across that maybe people don't know about?
I think just, as I said before, really just listen to us. I emphasize this a lot. Really listen to us. Really take the time to know us. Really get below that surface level conversation. Because once you actually get to know us as an individual, then you can have a much more better overview of what our strengths, what our weaknesses are as well. You can just see us as an individual and who we are on the inside, how much we can actually offer to another individual. It's just really important to ask those questions that really get to know us more, really show lots of interest in us, include us in things, make us feel included, make us feel like we're part of the team. Because once you really genuinely look past the things that you might consider to be a bit off-putting, you really can realize that we do genuinely have a lot to offer to lots of other people, not just in the corporate or job world, just in general life. We can really be good listeners. We can offer lots of solutions. We can really go out of our way to try and make someone else happy. We are very loyal, very diligent, very resilient as well, with problem solving. Like all of these things you can really recognize just from actually getting to know us. It's just, we don't do it the normal way that other people would. I think it's important to really just get to know us as individuals, see what our strengths and weaknesses are, and ensure that you can actually adapt to us, or we'll adapt to you as well.
I think my whole job could be taken by you. That's how good you are. The whole podcast, I've just been repeating what you said because it's that good. Exactly that. I think what you said that was so important. Business leaders need to hear this. Anyone, really. Get to know us. And what the important part is that you're not saying you're going to be offended by people being curious. You don't want that attention. That is the misconception. Being ignored or people making assumptions about you or writing you off, that's not a great feeling. But if someone asks you and speaks to you and is curious, you will navigate that together. Like you said, you accommodate, they accommodate. And I think there's a fear in people because they don't have the awareness. But you can only get that awareness by speaking to other people that you don't know about.
Yeah. Definitely.
So that's what I got from you to turn it around. What's your experience? You know, we've been speaking to each other now for like 3-4 months. What's your kind of experience of me? Anything you would want me to do differently? Anything that you liked?
I mean, you've been pretty good, I would say. I would just say maybe keep it a bit more concise, how you speak things. I don't mind. I do love listening to you. It's just like, it needs to be a bit more clear on what you're trying to convey to me. Maybe just try and convey clearly, which you have actually been doing quite well. Just keep it a bit more concise, I would say, with timings. I think you did really well today. I answered your questions and everything. But yeah, I hope that's okay.
Any good things about me?
Oh, but lots of good things. You're very good at listening to me. You're very good at conveying your point of view. You really make me feel very understood and You really genuinely took the time to know me as an individual and asked lots of really amazing questions that really helped to get lots of good answers out of me as well.
I love it. And on that note, thank you so much, Arber. Do you want to sign out to the audience? Just say one message before we go.
Never forget what cosmic, shining, gleaming stars you are. You guys are always legends as well. You guys are just that amazing every single time. Never ever stop smiling.